Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. College football week 1 continues, and we got a good one here. One of the best games of the week. Miami is at the Swamp. Miami, Florida. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, Canes are on the road in Gainesville for this one. Florida short home dogs here, plus 2.5 mostly. Total sitting at 54.5 across the board. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got to lean on Miami here, 30.4 to 22.2. But again, this is last year's data, so probably disregard this for the time being. So let's get into this one, and I think we should start by mentioning that both of these head coaches might be on the hot seat here, probably more so Billy Napier, but both coaching staffs exactly the same as last year. Mario Cristobal brings back both of his coordinators. Same goes for Billy Napier. Same OC, same DC. So why don't we start with the Miami offense, or we'll start with Miami in general. Returning production, 30th in the country. The hype in Miami is serious. And they have good reason to be hyped. They have a very good team, 17 returning starters, 10 on the offensive side of the ball. Last year, they were more of a pass-happy team, 46th in passing frequency, just 88th in run frequency. Now that they've got Damian Martinez and Cam Ward, I expect that to be a little more balanced. Here are their offensive metrics. 17th in yards per carry, just 68th in rushing success rate, though. 42nd in effective rush. Passing numbers look okay. I mean, these don't look bad. Miami's offense definitely wasn't terrible last year. But like I said, they brought in some pieces. Here's Damian Martinez, brought in from Oregon State. Almost 1,200 yards rushing, over 6 yards to carry last year, 9 rushing touchdowns. And I'm sure you've already heard Cam Ward is now here at Miami. Over 3,700 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And that wasn't a one-off. I mean, he's been doing that for years. He was with Incarnate Ward first, then Washington State for a few years. So this is an experienced veteran quarterback, most likely an NFL guy. Miami's very excited to have him. And Restrepo's back. And if you didn't watch Miami football last year, you don't know how clutch this dude is. These numbers don't even tell the story. 1,092 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. I swear it felt like every third down Miami needed to convert, this dude was always in the right spot. They also bring back their number 2 receiver, and they brought in a transfer, Samuel Brown from Houston, who caught, I think it was 800 yards last year. So to reiterate, Miami, superstar quarterback, star running back, 3 very good wide receivers, and the offensive line looks pretty good as well. They bring 3 starters back from last year, and they stole a starter from Indiana. So they brought in a starting Big Ten offensive lineman to replace one of the pieces they lost. So it's really hard to poke holes in this Miami offense. On paper, they should be very, very good this year. Now, quarterback and running back in this system all have never played together before. Definitely worth mentioning. But as far as the talent, they're loaded up. So how do they match up against Florida's defense? Well, Florida's defense was definitely disappointing last year. They gave up a ton of yards. I mean, look at the yards per play, yards per carry, yards per pass attempt. Not good. If you look at some of the more advanced metrics, it suggests they weren't quite that bad. But still, Florida's defense definitely a down year. But what I will say for Florida is I actually really like their defensive line this year. For starters, their defensive line wasn't nearly as bad last year as you think. Here are their defensive line metrics. I mean, top 50 pretty much in everything. 6th in power success rate. They were very good in short yardage situations, and they're huge this year. They bring back 3 starters. They also brought in 2 nice pieces in the transfer portal. They brought in the Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year from, I think it was, I'm going to look. I don't want to get this wrong. The Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year. Where was he from, Andy? Penn. Yeah, so they brought in the Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year. They also brought in a kid from Northern Illinois who's very good. So this defensive line should be stacked, and also they're huge. They have 4 players on the defensive line, 320 pounds or more. They also have a kid that's 440 pounds on there. So this Florida defensive line is going to be huge, physical, very good. So as far as matching up against Miami's offensive line, I like it. I think Florida's going to be competitive in that department. I don't know if Miami's going to be able to get the run game going between the tackles, but as far as on the outside, I mean, Florida's secondary, questionable against all those Miami weapons. Cam Ward can scramble. I can't count on Florida's defense to make stops because of all the talent Miami has, but I do think they will win a lot of the battles on the inside. Now let's flip it over to the other side, and this is where I think the most interesting part of this matchup is the Florida offense. 36th in pass frequency last year, 51st in pace. Nothing really jumps out there. Here are their offensive metrics. Look at the passing. Graham Mertz, now he missed the last 2 games of the year, but when he was in there, they were a pretty good passing attack. I mean, I liked what I saw from Graham Mertz. I bet Florida a lot last year, so I ended up watching a lot of Florida football. I mean, look at the metrics. 43rd in yards per pass attempt, 34th in passing success rate, 32nd in effective pass. Graham Mertz, 2,900 yards, 20 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. He completed over 72% of his passes, damn near 73% of his passes, 3rd in the country amongst quarterbacks. Graham Mertz was good, and he's got another year experience under his belt. I don't think there's any reason to doubt him. I mean, I think he's going to have another good year. Now, there may be something to be said as far as Florida losing some weapons. I mean, Trevor Etienne obviously over at Georgia now. Whether or not he's going to be playing in week 1, we'll see. He was a nice weapon for him, 753 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, 8 rushing touchdowns. Now, I think technically he was the RB2, though, because Montrell Johnson, I consider to be the starting running back there. Montrell Johnson is still there. 5.4 yards per carry, 5 rushing touchdowns, over 800 yards. Now, I will say I hate that Ricky Pearsall isn't there anymore. He was kind of Florida's version of Restrepo in terms of whenever Florida needed a completion, needed a conversion, they looked at Pearsall. Obviously, he's gone in the NFL, but this kid, Eugene Wilson, if you haven't heard of him yet, you will. This is an NFL kid, man. He was a true freshman last year, one of the most highly touted wide receiver recruits coming out of high school, had offers from everywhere, really broke onto the scene. He's going to be a superstar. And it's Florida. I mean, they always have weapons. So, yeah, they lose Trevor Etienne. Yeah, they lose Ricky Pearsall, and those are significant losses. But they're going to have weapons, man. And they're going to need those weapons to win battles in this one because Miami runs a ton of man coverage, 16th in man coverage frequency last year, and they're pretty good at it. And Florida, as far as Graham Mertz, better passing numbers against zone coverage. So they're going to need guys like Eugene Wilson to win their battles on the outside in this one. But I trust that they have the pieces that are capable of doing it, especially Eugene Wilson, as I mentioned. I think he's a superstar. Now, Miami's defense as a whole, excellent against the run, definitely a little shaky against the pass. You can see on this graphic here, numbers look much better against the run than the pass. And here are Florida's offensive line numbers. Certainly not blowing you away here. I mean, struggled in pass protection, not great in the run blocking department either. But last year's Florida offensive line was a mess. They brought back just 1 returning starter. This year, they're bringing back essentially 4 starters on that offensive line. So I expect Florida's offensive line to be much better. And Miami, on the defensive side, their defensive line was loaded last year. And, I mean, it's still loaded this year. But they lost a few pieces that they replaced in the portal. So week 1 against the Florida offensive line that's now experienced, I think the Gators can win some of those battles. So as much as I think Cam Ward and those Miami receivers are going to have a field day on the Florida secondary, I also think Graham Mertz is going to go off. I think Graham Mertz is going to cook in this game, which is why I bet the over in this one. I took over 54. I already bet this. If you put a gun to my head and force me to bet a side, probably would take Florida. I probably would try to grab a +3 with Florida. Just take the home dog. I think it's very coin flippy, so I would side with the home dog, but feel comfortable just chilling on my over. If you want to see all the bets I have open currently for week 1 and future bets, head over to KyleKirms.com and sign up for Sauce Network Plus. You just click on the tab at the top that says open bets, and you can see every single bet I have open right now, as well as everyone on the staff here. So head over to the website and sign up if you're interested. Sauce Network Plus also comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. So head over there. Live shows weekdays, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and then the football mornings on the weekends, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be live 10 a.m. to noon going through every single game on the board. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a nice college football week 1. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.